In many ways, it just didn't seem possible that it could happen again on the same day, on the anniversary. So part of us was thinking, it can't possibly be. This is going to move, it's going to stop, it's going to miss us, because it's too cruel, right, for it to happen on the anniversary. We knew a couple of days before July 10th that this storm had the potential to be really bad. The storm started early on July 10th. We started monitoring the high danger points in the city, the places that tend to start flooding first. We were monitoring those throughout the morning, throughout the early afternoon. We set up the Emergency Operations Center in the Public Safety Building, where we could have all of the department heads together to make sure that everything we needed to be doing was getting done. At about 3 o'clock or so, we started noticing that water on North Main Street started to rise, and that's where the Emergency Operations Center is. So we made a decision that we had to evacuate ourselves to the Civic Center, which is where we are now, because this is the high ground in the city, and this is where we knew we would not be ourselves trapped in case we needed to start moving around. We've actually, unfortunately, gotten very good at this because we've had to do it many times. We actually had another flood in December of last year that was very minor, but we've become better as a team about how we respond to these events. So we started over-preparing. We were hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, and that's what we advise residents to do. So we started with, I think, better response strategies. We now have sandbags out for people sooner, so they can fortify their homes, fortify their properties, their businesses. Obviously, the floodwaters receded, and they left behind mud and muck and silt that took months to replace. It was a really labor-intensive cleanup that was left behind. It would have been one thing if the water came and left. You still have water damage, and we get it, that's difficult. We had not just the water damage, but we had bucket loads and dump truck loads of mud that had to be removed from the city, from people's basements, from people's yards. I think the psyche of our residents is very fragile right now, and not just our residents, but city staff. We're all on edge. Everyone's on edge. Every time it rains, people are on edge. They talk about it as PTSD, and I think that's fair. I think people are. I feel it myself. From my position, I feel the PTSD of having the burden of, trying to guide us through this. And so if you've personally been impacted, I absolutely understand why you're feeling that way. I understand why you get anxious when you hear raindrops or when you see what's coming in the forecast. That's normal and expected, I think, given what we've gone through. I've also placed a large emphasis on normalcy. And last year, one of the things we did was we reopened the city pool. The flood happened on Monday. We reopened the city pool on Saturday for a free swim day. And that was, let's get back to a little bit of normal. Even if you're still in the midst of recovering, maybe your kids can have a day off. Maybe you can take a day off. One of the things I impart to the team here at the city is the flood may have happened overnight. We're not going to fix it overnight. And so one of the things I require is that we also take care of ourselves. A burned out city manager, a burnt out fire chief, they don't do any good to anybody, right? So we also have to take care of ourselves, because we're no good to our residents if we're not in a good state of mind as well. We tried to also last year have positive recovery events. So one of the other things we did at the pool, we had an ice cream social at the pool with FEMA. Right, so Ben and Jerry's came down. They were giving away free ice cream. We had FEMA there. So if you had been hurt by the flood, if you were impacted by the flood, come to the pool, get some ice cream, and get some help. I think events, like this basketball game that we're talking about, are really important for people to have a positive connection with their city, for people to have an ability to forget a little bit about what's been going on. Barre is open to Vermont. Barre can still benefit from the support of people coming here. There's people here who still need help, people here who still could use volunteer assistance. For people to realize that there is a large fabric of people that do care about them nearby. So I think it's important that we don't forget those parts of it. We have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We can remember that we've been through trauma, but we can also try to get back to a little bit of normal, even if we acknowledge that not everyone is quite recovered yet and may not be for some time.